Hey guys, I'm going to take a break from my ongoing project to examine the contents of this box which just arrived. Now, this is an item that I have been trying to acquire for quite some time, but they have always eluded me. This one in particular I got because it's damaged, but I don't care so much because the main reason I wanted to make this video is just so I can say one thing. Repeat after me. This is not a foot-operated radio. This is a hand-operated radio. True, it's unusual looking, and I can understand why people might believe that it's a foot-operated radio, but trust me, it is not. Somebody put up a website devoted to this model, and they said it was a foot-operated radio. Every eBay seller Googles this model, that website comes up, and they just keep repeating it over and over and over. They say it was for secretaries to put under their desk and operate with their foot. That is not true. It's just a novel design. It's meant to be operated with your hand. You wouldn't want a radio under your desk. It would sound terrible. It's meant to go on top. It's a tabletop radio. Alright, enough said about that. It is a Philco 49901. Seller happened to include the Sam's photo factory. I don't think I've ever actually had a Sam's for a radio. I've always gone off of the rider's info or the original, say, Philco factory info. But yeah, they did make Sam's for radios as well. So that is a combination station selector, volume control, and on-off switch. Rather unique design. And it's from 1949. That's how the Philco model numbers have worked in the latter years. The earlier models, it'd just be like a Philco 15 or a Philco 60 or a Philco 90. Starting, I believe, in 1937, they went with this convention where the two digits indicate the year and then the model number. So 49 for 1949, model 901. So how can I get so many operations in just this thing? Well, it's because you can also push it. I do believe this may very well not be functioning right now. So I thought that it would click at some point and then the volume would go up and down like a conventional power, like this on this TV. So power and then volume. I thought that's how this is supposed to work. And then I think you push it and it's got a kind of a latching mechanism where it would click on a spring and that would do the station presets. But as you may have noticed, this radio has suffered some damage, which is why I got it cheap. It's made of Bakelite, and most, if not all, models were painted, I do believe. Yeah, and this one, it's seen some banging around, so it's not just this corner that's gone, but there's also a chunk gone all the way around there, which is kind of weird. It almost looks like somebody used a tool or something to grind that away. I mean, I don't see how you could possibly sustain that kind of damage if this thing was assembled. Maybe it was in pieces and this edge got all dinged up. I don't know. Or maybe a critter was chewing on it. And then similar here and here. If nothing else, I thought it'd be interesting just to explore how they made this thing work. I believe it's intact. It may never have even been serviced inside. See, the power cord was cut off. But chassis is in there. You can tell just from the weight. And there's the presets, and I can see that the internal loop antenna is present. Front's in decent enough condition. So if I can restore it electrically, well, then I can do some experimenting with some Bakelite repair. Since it's painted, I can go nuts with using epoxy and Bondo and all kinds of stuff because it'll get painted over. And the main part of it's intact, all this. And I like this grill because Philco's very first TV used the same type of grill. I'll try to dig up a photo and show you guys. And that's a TV I'd very much like to get, but they are pretty scarce. I've never seen one for sale in this area. And when they do tend to be kind of expensive. I think it's a Philco model 48-1000. Anyways, so yeah, that's my first thought, is to use Bondo on this to stabilize it first, because I can see that in some areas it's not only cracked, but this part is actually bent in a little bit, so it's no longer flush with the larger piece. And this crack could separate. So, I think I've seen numerous ideas online about how to repair Bakelite. I'll get to put them all to play in with this project. So, for example, to reinforce this, I've seen guys where on the inside they'll cut a groove, put a steel pin in, and then fill it in with 2-part epoxy to reinforce that. I also know from my own experience that super glue works fantastic on Bakelite. And the capillary action makes it especially nice. So the technique I've done is don't put the glue on and then press it together. Get everything lined up perfectly, clamped, everything flush just the way you want. Then lay some super glue on the inside and the outside, and capillary action will draw it into the void and wipe off the excess. Because of this porous nature of Bakelite, super glue just works really, really well with it. And then obviously, unless that chunk is in the box somewhere, I'll have to get some kind of mesh and Bondo and see if I can make that invisible. And this stuff will all be a bit of a challenge, but again, Bondo and sanding and gluing up all these cracks. Anyways, let's pop this open and take a look inside. Without giving it much thought, I grabbed a tool and removed these 3 screws, and then I noticed this label. It says to replace tubes, remove the cover screws. I believe these hold the chassis to the bottom of the cabinet, and then there's a screw here and 2 on the back that let you take the top off. So I'm going to go ahead and put these back in and remove the 3 screws. So there was one really long screw going up through the bottom, and the top, I imagine, somewhere, and then 2 short ones in the back. Before I pull that off, though, let's take a look at the service info. Now, this is from the same era as the Philco Hippo. See one in the background there. I've worked on a few of these in the past, so I expect the circuitry to be somewhat similar. They made those from about 46 to 49, and this is 49. And they were using lock dowels in that period, so yeah. Indeed, we've got a 7A8, 35Y4, 14A7, 50A5, and a 14B6, I think. Yeah. So basically, it's an all-American 5. Made with lock dowel tubes. So no power transformer or anything like that. So there's your power coming in. Goes to a rectifier tube and filament string there in series. And there's a very typical triple electrolytic capacitor with resistor divider. Audio output tube. And first audio amp and detector and AGC tube. The IF tube. And then the do everything tube, the local oscillator mixer tube, and no RF front end. So standard all-American 5, and it's got a built-in loop antenna. That's what that thing is right there. And here are the presets. And I do believe this only works on presets, which is a little unusual. Most radios that have presets do have a mode where you can free tune it to anything you want, but not with this guy, I don't think. So let's take a look. Well, that's cool. Oh, I like that. I never actually saw one of these in operation, so I didn't know how exactly this worked. I just assumed that that was a pilot light up front. But I can see that they have a color wheel. So depending on what preset you're on, it's going to be a different color. Cool. And in spite of the horrible condition of the cabinet, this thing looks mint inside. I mean, until I pull it out, I won't know for sure. I don't think it's ever been worked on. It's certainly all here. And these are all the original Philco tubes. Cool, so for less than 20 bucks, I think I did alright, in spite of having to do a lot of cabinet work. Also be able to paint this any color I want, and I don't think I'll go with the ivory. I may go off and do something a little more interesting. I hope all this mechanism's here. So there, like I thought, there's the power switch volume control. There's the ratcheting mechanism down there. But it seems like this isn't really connected to anything. Oh, it lifts up. So let's see. I don't know if you need to have power applied to make this work. I mean, clearly we can see like the cog thing there and the spring. It seems like this should go down. Maybe I can... Maybe it's just really seized up with grease. It looks like this should rotate. I'll have to play around with that. It's curious that this lifts up though. I wonder why they would do that. It makes it easy to replace the pilot light, but that seems like going a little above and beyond to make the serviceman's life easier to have this whole thing lift up like that. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and remove those chassis bolts to get that out. I like this too, a little protection for the speaker. Cool radio, I like it. I like to have something a little bit different now and then. But before I pull the chassis out, it didn't take me too long to figure out what was going on here. It's hinged up for a good reason. This pushes down. I just wasn't pushing anywhere near hard enough. It is gummed up a bit, but it does work. So there we go. And the color wheel's turning and everything. And I expect this will be a little bit easier to use once I flush all that old lube out, get some new grease in there. And as far as the volume, power, it does, the control's alright, but this is not engaging like it should be. So I can actually, right now I'm turning the control shaft, so there I just turned it off. A little oomph there, I just turned it on. Now I got volume control. Alright, let's take a look underneath the chassis. Yeah, that is all original. Cool. So there's a 3-section electrolytic. It's common to all these All-American 5s. So that will get replaced. And you can see all the gooey original paper caps. So this thing definitely saw some heat under here. Probably a lot of use. But it does have all the original tubes, which is kind of cool. Definitely very, very restorable. And there's the presets, so they'll have, looks like a variable inductor, I think, for setting the antenna bandpass, and then a trimmer cap for the local oscillator. I think that's how that works. And you can see behind the scenes, it's just a rotary switch. A couple decks on it. And it's pretty conventional circuitry. Should be a real easy recap. And then just a matter of the funky mechanical situation to sort out. And I was thinking too that that pilot light is probably not going to be really bright, so maybe there'd be a good application for an LED. They make drop-in LED replacements for a lot of the original type bulbs, like a Type 47. But I'll leave the original one for now, assuming it's even still good. But I really want that to light up nicely. It's a cool feature. So, although I do have, well, this beast I'm working on, I'm kind of anxious to dive into this too, because I think it'll be pretty quick and easy. 3 electrolytics, a few paper caps, probably get this thing back to life, and then I'll have to worry about this. So you can see there's a snap ring on this shaft going up to this, and probably from somebody just years of use on this, it broke loose. I don't know how it was originally fastened, but should be able to get it apart. Probably take that off, or snap this ring off, the pot to loosen up that end, snap that ring out, probably get this whole thing off. It should get repainted at some point. See, it's got gold paint on it. It's kind of a beige plastic underneath. And then flush this all out, lubricate it. Yeah, this could be a fun little project. Here's a quick look at the inside of the top cover. Piece of cardboard with a grill cloth on it. Looks like there's a serial number, final inspection number on it. It's kind of a cloth that goes over that wheel, maybe to keep dust out. You see where it's busted out there. Crack running all down inside. So, yeah, boy, it goes all the way down here. So it's definitely something where I want to get this clamped up secure and then run a bead of glue on the inside, and it'll soak right down into that seam. And it really makes it amazingly strong. So yeah, I'm kind of anxious to get this going, because the radio I've been using down here is at Philco 60, which is fine, but not the best performer, especially down in this basement situation. And there's only a handful of stations I listen to, so I think it'd be cool to get this running and put in those handful of stations and use this for my workshop radio.